Good evening, friends, and welcome to the fourth position, where we are trying to put together a new political theory for the 21st century, together, piece by piece. But before we can even start the conversation about how to build a new ideology, we have to make sure that we avoid the mistakes of the past. And by mistakes, I mean extremism, barbarism, and murder committed by all three previous ideologies, previous political theories, of the 20th century. If you look at fascism, that brutality is rather obvious. It's made its way to Hollywood, and just the word Auschwitz certainly rings in people's ears, and with good reason and just cause. A lot of the horrors committed by the Nazi regime are, well, universally despised across the planet. When it comes to communism, every communist revolution, like any revolution, resulted in a lot of brutality. When you overthrow the seated government and the entire elite, you're going to have to kill said government and elite and make sure that no counter-revolution perks its head up. This is natural, but still a very brutal, murderous process, which ended many, many lives in the 20th century. Although liberalism seems the most friendly on the surface, the crimes of that ideology are obvious. If we look at all the actions taking against the rise of communism, the so-called containment during the Cold War in the Korean Peninsula, Vietnam, Latin America, and so on. When liberalism needs to be violent, it is. Ask Louis XVI. We can definitely put a lot of blood on liberalism's hands. Hollywood has just helped wash a lot of it away. Now, the thing is, we, as people who are excited about new ideas, of trying to find something new in what is old, are we just going to repeat exactly the same mistakes? Are we just the next set of murderers who haven't had the chance to murder yet? Well, I think that if we are going to build a new political ideology, we can definitely integrate into it from the start the means by which to reduce extremism to the point where history will shine on us much better than it did on certainly the fascists, the communists, and the liberals. Now, I see that there are two overall mechanisms by which we can essentially, at this point, if we integrate these mechanisms into this new ideology, we can completely, or hopefully to a large degree, really push down any possible extremism. And the first point, the first means by which we could reduce any extremism in our new ideology is by making it non-utopian. Now, what's utopia? It's paradise. It's the heaven on earth that seems very near to certain naive people. There are many who think that if we just do X, Y, and Z, we'll attain this state where everything is perfect, everything is wonderful. And the thing is, when you start thinking that there is this utopia and there's just a few barriers between us, that utopia, you're willing to do anything to those barriers, to knock them over, shatter them, and smash them to bits to get to where you want. If we look at the history of communism, even going back to Marx, the basic idea is that we can build this communist paradise, but we just have to get rid of the bourgeoisie. We just have to get rid of those capitalists who are occupying the means of production. And once we get rid of them, everything will be great. So we're justified in murder, because that murder will bring about utopia. For the fascists, especially if we look again to Nazi Germany, which is sort of the more easy to understand position of fascists, their idea was if we just get rid of those Jewish people in our country and those Slavs around our country, everything will be great. It's that evil influence and being surrounded by barbarians that's keeping us down. If we just get rid of them, then everything will be great. It's so simple for them, isn't it? Shift over to then liberalism. I mean, if we look at, say, the American War for Independence, although the Founding Fathers were a very intellectually mature, far-thinking fellows, when push comes to shove, when they needed to, violence was definitely an option. Same thing with the French Revolution. But the difference is that in the American colonies, they didn't really have to remove the elite, whereas in France, they were willing to cut the elite out physically via the guillotine. When we put this goal of this utopia right in front of everyone's face, right in front of their nose, it just seems to justify being able to do anything to get there. What we have to do is offer an ideology that doesn't offer utopia. It offers a better life, but not a utopian existence. Now, the next key component in order to reduce any possibility of extremism coming up in our fourth position is to make sure that it is non-universal. Now, what do I mean by that? Universal is something that has to be accepted by everyone. Again, the communists had the slogan of "Working men of the world unite." of the world. Communism was never designed as an ideology for one particular location, maybe one group of people. It was a world revolution. If we look at liberalism today, especially coming from the most powerful country in the world, the United States, universal human rights, Western-style democracy, which is actually more of a republic, the only possible option for the entire planet, and any other option being evil, well, we can see that universal mentality. Again, with the fascists, it's the same thing. If you don't absolutely agree with us, then you are evil and must be crushed. What if liberalism, which really grew out of the West, say especially England, the English-speaking Anglo-Saxon world, some people would say France too, probably. I would include France, others wouldn't. But what if we just said that the very most Western part of Europe and just the Anglo-Saxons, that's really who liberalism was meant for? What if that was a core function of that ideology? Well, then you probably wouldn't have a lot of state actors and non-state actors pushing liberalism, changing cultures all over the world, by hook or by crook, to get the job done. The same thing is with communism. There wouldn't have been a Cold War if communism had been some sort of ideology made by Marx specifically for the middle of continental Europe and the particular conditions that they had at the time. And the second that we say this idea is for everyone, and it's for their good, and it's the best idea, and the only possible idea, that grows extremism. I think our fourth political theory should be more like a platform that different cultures could take and highly customize, and that customization is part of the plan, and that's their job to do, and that we should focus more on our own culture and developing our own fourth political theory, rather than trying to bomb the liberalism out of Western Europe or try to take the communism out of China by bayonet point. That serves no one. So as you see, the only moral thing to do is at the start of building a fourth political theory is to try our best to avoid the awful results of the previous three theories. If we make this new political theory both non-utopian and non-universal, while at the same time making it appealing enough for people to actually want to believe in it, then we've essentially attained that balance where we have a political ideology that matters and has value and will have passion, that wants to expand, that people want to believe in. Then we have created a new idea which will avoid those horrible mistakes of the past, or at least dramatically reduce them, to the point where no one in 100 years will be making memes about how the fourth political theory killed millions and millions of people in such and such country. This must be avoided at all costs. It is our moral, human obligation to make a political theory that goes vastly beyond the flawed failures of our predecessors. This video, like every video in this series, is accompanied by an article. You can see that article by clicking the link in the description. Please leave your comments, subscribe, and we want to hear your thoughts. We're going to try to release these videos every 2 weeks, and we are going to push forward till we have our fourth position developed. Thank you very much for your time.